welcome back to our channel on this beautiful Thursday. We are thrilled to bring you the latest, deeply emotional updates from Genoa City. The drama is reaching an absolute boiling point, and we have so much to unpack today. Let us dive straight into the heart-wrenching twists and turns that await our favorite characters as their lives shatter and rebuild before our very eyes. The suffocating weight of anticipation hangs heavily over Sally Spectra as she faces one of the most terrifying and defining moments of her entire existence. Trapped in an agonizing state of limbo, Sally is forced to endure a grueling waiting period that feels as though it is stretching into an eternity. The sheer silence of the room amplifies the frantic beating of her own heart as she stares at a pregnancy test, a small piece of plastic that holds the power to completely rewrite the trajectory of her future. Every passing second is a painful reminder of the precarious nature of her current life, forcing her to confront a myriad of terrifying possibilities that she is entirely unprepared to face. The atmosphere is thick with unspoken fears and desperate hopes, creating a palpable tension that threatens to consume her from the inside out. Beside her, acting as an unexpected but desperately needed anchor in this storm of uncertainty, is Audra Charles. The dynamic between these two ambitious women has always been fraught with complex layers of corporate rivalry and guarded mutual respect, but in this profoundly vulnerable moment, all superficial barriers have completely dissolved. Audra stands by Sally not as a competitor or a strategic ally, but as a silent guardian offering unwavering support during a crisis that transcends any boardroom battle. The presence of Audra provides Sally with a fragile lifeline, a silent assurance that she does not have to navigate this terrifying precipice entirely alone. The shared silence between them speaks volumes, highlighting a profound sisterhood forged in the fires of sudden, overwhelming fear. Sally is paralyzed by the agonizing duality of her situation, her mind frantically oscillating between two equally life-altering outcomes. On one hand, there is the overwhelming possibility that she is carrying Billy Abbott's child, a revelation that would inextricably link her to the chaotic, high-stakes world of the Abbott family forever. The mere thought of motherhood brings a complex tidal wave of emotions, blending a deep, primal yearning for family with the terrifying realization of the immense responsibility it entails. She envisions the profound impact this child would have on her carefully constructed independent life, the inevitable complications it would introduce into her relationship with Billy, and the inescapable scrutiny she would face from the powerful families of Genoa City. Conversely, a darker, far more sinister shadow looms over her thoughts, fueled by Billy Abbott's recent, terrifying suspicions regarding her health. There is a distinct, horrifying possibility that the physical symptoms she has been experiencing are not the signs of a blossoming new life, but rather the ominous warning bells of a severe, potentially life-threatening illness. The dread of a medical crisis gnaws at her sanity, making her question every sensation in her body and filling her mind with catastrophic scenarios of hospitals, treatments, and fading strength. If the test yields a negative result, it might not be a sigh of relief, but rather the sounding of an alarm, confirming that she is facing a battle for her very survival. This terrifying dichotomy leaves Sally suspended over an abyss, desperately needing to know the truth, yet utterly terrified of what that truth might actually be. She is trapped in a cruel waiting game, knowing that regardless of whether the result is positive or negative, the woman she was yesterday is already gone, replaced by someone who must confront a drastically altered reality. Meanwhile, across town, a completely different but equally devastating tragedy is unfolding in the aftermath of a catastrophic betrayal. Jack Abbott, a man who once stood as a towering pillar of strength and business acumen, is now a broken, hollow shell of his former self. The devastating realization of Diane Jenkins Abbott's ultimate, sociopathic deception has entirely shattered his world, leaving him adrift in a sea of profound humiliation and agonizing heartbreak. Jack is forced to confront the horrifying truth that his absolute, blind loyalty to Diane was nothing more than a weapon she meticulously sharpened to destroy him. The memory of her staged car crash, the fabricated tears, and the vicious, unfounded accusations she hurled at Nikki Newman replay in his mind like a relentless, torturous nightmare. He remembers with sickening clarity how he championed Diane's cause, how he publicly crucified Nikki on the altar of public opinion, and how he alienated his own family. All while Diane was secretly pulling the strings of his total financial ruin. The revelation that Diane utilized a complex web of shell companies to quietly purchase his massive, crippling debts has completely stripped Jack of his empire, his legacy, and his dignity. He is now a puppet in the hands of the woman he loved, a tragic victim of his own catastrophic hubris and desperate desire for a second chance at romance. The marital issues he now faces are not mere disagreements or temporary rifts. They are the smoldering ruins of a union built entirely on a foundation of malicious lies and calculated exploitation. Jack is consumed by a suffocating despair, terrified by the stark reality that the damage inflicted upon his life, his career, and his personal relationships is entirely irreparable. The isolation he feels is absolute, a cold, dark void created by his own misguided actions and Diane's ruthless manipulation. In his darkest hour, seeking any semblance of solace and understanding, Jack finds himself drawn to the most unlikely of saviors, Nikki Newman. The sheer irony of his situation is not lost on him. The very woman he recently attacked in the media, the woman he falsely accused of attempted vehicular manslaughter based on Diane's venomous lies, is now the only person who truly comprehends the depth of the monster he married. Nikki, despite being deeply embroiled in the exhausting, fabricated legal and public relations nightmare orchestrated by Diane, demonstrates an extraordinary capacity for grace and empathy. She recognizes the shattered man standing before her not as an enemy, but as a fellow casualty of Diane Jenkins' boundless cruelty. Nikki quietly confesses to Jack that she recently attempted to bridge the gap, seeking out Diane in a desperate bid to reason with her and put an end to the escalating madness. She recounts the chilling encounter, describing how Diane flatly, coldly refused to engage in any form of rational dialogue, her demeanor radiating a toxic, triumphant malice. Jack is not remotely surprised by this revelation. He now understands that Diane operates entirely outside the realm of human empathy, driven solely by an insatiable hunger for dominance and revenge. The shared trauma of their respective encounters with Diane's darkness creates a profound, unexpected bond between Jack and Nikki, bridging the bitter divide that had recently separated them. Overwhelmed by a potent mixture of profound regret, crushing sorrow, and a desperate need for human connection, Jack reaches out to Nikki. Their shared grief culminates in a warm, deeply emotional embrace, a fleeting moment of genuine comfort amidst the wreckage of their lives. It is an embrace born of mutual understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the pain they have both endured at the hands of the same manipulator. However, this tender moment of solace is fraught with immense danger. Diane Jenkins, though victorious in her financial and psychological conquest, remains deeply possessive and pathologically jealous. The mere thought of Diane witnessing this intimate exchange sends a shiver of dread through the narrative. If Diane's cold eyes were to fall upon Jack finding refuge in the arms of her lifelong nemesis, the resulting explosion of rage and vindictive fury would be catastrophic. Diane's twisted psychology demands that Jack suffer in absolute isolation, and the sight of Nikki offering him sanctuary would undoubtedly trigger a new, even more destructive phase of her relentless vendetta. Far away from the corporate warfare and emotional wreckage of Genoa City, a terrifying psychological thriller is escalating beneath the blinding neon lights of Las Vegas. Adam Newman, driven by a desperate, frantic need to locate his missing brother, has tracked a lead to the desert oasis, only to walk directly into a meticulously crafted nightmare. The atmosphere in Las Vegas is a stark, jarring contrast to the grim reality of his mission. The flashing lights and sounds of perpetual celebration mock the dark, suffocating dread that has taken root in Adam's soul. He is entirely consumed by the need to find Nick, entirely unaware that his family's vast resources and security forces have been catastrophically delayed by the fabricated legal crisis Diane launched against their mother, Nikki. In the heart of this neon wilderness, Adam finally comes face to face with the architect of this current horror, Matt Clark. The encounter is charged with a volatile, explosive tension, a collision of Newman ferocity and deeply ingrained, sadistic malice. Matt, operating with the chilling calmness of a predator who has completely cornered his prey, delivers a psychological blow designed to completely shatter Adam's reality. With a sickeningly smug demeanor, Matt spins a horrific, fabricated tale, coldly informing Adam that his desperate search is entirely in vain because Nick Newman is already dead, the tragic victim of a fatal drug overdose. The words hang in the air like a poisonous fog, designed to paralyze Adam with grief and horror. Adam's immediate reaction is a visceral, violent rejection of the lie. His entire being rebels against the horrific narrative Matt is attempting to force upon him. The complex, often antagonistic history between the Newman brothers is instantly eclipsed by a profound, primal protective instinct. Adam fiercely demands to see Nick immediately, his voice trembling, with a terrifying blend of boiling rage and desperate panic. He hurls dark, violent threats at Matt, promising unimaginable retribution and the full, crushing weight of the Newman family's wrath if Matt does not immediately produce his brother. Adam attempts to leverage every ounce of intimidation and power he possesses, trying to force the sadistic captor into submission through sheer force of will. However, the chilling reality of the situation rapidly dawns on Adam, extinguishing his fiery threats with a cold wave of absolute powerlessness. He looks into Matt's dead, triumphant eyes and realizes with horrifying clarity that he has absolutely no control over this situation. Matt is not intimidated by the Newman name, nor is he frightened by Adam's threats of violence. In fact, Matt seems to actively feed on Adam's escalating panic and desperation. Matt is a ghost from the past, a monster who has spent years meticulously planning this elaborate revenge, and he holds all the cards. Matt's next calculated move is designed to cause even more chaotic trouble, intentionally leaving Adam floundering, looking like a frantic, unhinged mess in the middle of a city that does not care about his pain. Matt masterfully manipulates the environment and the flow of information, ensuring that Adam is left chasing shadows, completely isolated from any tangible truth. Completely unmoored and overwhelmed by a sense of impending doom, Adam desperately reaches out to the only person he trusts to share this immense burden, Chelsea Lawson. Through a frantic, emotionally shattered phone call, Adam conveys the sheer horror of his encounter with Matt and the devastating, unbelievable claim of Nick's demise. The transmission of this panic is instantaneous, infecting Chelsea with the same suffocating terror that is currently drowning Adam. Chelsea, who shares a deep, complex history with the Newman family and harbors her own profound maternal fears, is paralyzed by the implications of Adam's frantic report. Together, through the static of the phone line, they come to a horrifying, shared realization: extracting Nick from the clutches of a madman like Matt Clark is going to be infinitely more difficult, dangerous, and psychologically taxing than they ever could have anticipated. They are fighting a ghost who operates entirely outside the boundaries of logic and mercy. The tragic, agonizing irony of the situation is that while Adam is losing his mind in Las Vegas, Nick Newman is very much alive, though his existence has been reduced to a living hell. Miles away, hidden in the shadows of a dilapidated, rusted warehouse on the desolate outskirts of Genoa City, Nick is enduring a psychological torture chamber that defies human comprehension. Chained like an animal, stripped of his autonomy and his dignity, Nick is forced to participate in Matt's sadistic game. He is surrounded by flickering surveillance monitors, each screen displaying a different angle of his loved ones, including the terrifying, fabricated kidnapping of his precious daughter, Faith. Nick's survival is a testament to his incredible resilience, fueled by a volatile mix of intense panic, boiling rage, and a cold, calculated determination to protect his family at all costs. Yet, despite his fierce will to live, the reality of Nick's situation is incredibly grim. Matt Clark does not intend to offer a swift, merciful end. His goal is the complete and total psychological annihilation of Nick Newman. He wants to break Nick's mind, to force him to watch his world burn from behind an impenetrable wall of glass and steel. As Adam and Chelsea frantically try to piece together the puzzle from afar, their hearts are heavy with a terrifying, unspoken question. They know in their bones that Matt is lying about the overdose, that Nick must still be breathing somewhere in the darkness, but the sheer brutality of Matt's hatred leaves them paralyzed with fear. They are consumed by the agonizing worrying of just how much trauma a human mind can endure, and how long Nick can possibly survive the relentless, crushing weight of Matt Clark's ultimate revenge before his spirit finally shatters. As an observer of these profoundly tragic and deeply intertwined fates, one cannot help but feel a visceral, aching sorrow for the sheer vulnerability on display in Genoa City today. There is a profound sadness in witnessing the systematic destruction of Jack Abbott, a man whose only true crime was loving a woman entirely incapable of returning anything but deceit. The heart breaks for his profound isolation, a stark reminder of how easily a lifetime of achievement can be erased by a single, catastrophic misplaced trust. Simultaneously, the suffocating anxiety surrounding Sally Spectra's agonizing weight resonates on a deeply human level. It is the universal terror of facing the unknown. standing on the precipice of a diagnosis or a destiny that will forever alter the fabric of one's identity. And then there is the sheer, unadulterated terror of Nick Newman's captivity, a dark, claustrophobic nightmare that forces us to confront the terrifying reality of what happens when true unbridled malice is allowed to operate unchecked in the shadows. The emotional toll on these characters is immense, painting a portrait of a community pushed to its absolute psychological limits, desperately grasping for light in an increasingly suffocating darkness. With lives hanging delicately in the balance, empires reduced to smoldering ash, and a sadistic madman holding the ultimate trump card. The citizens of Genoa City are hurtling toward a catastrophic breaking point. Will Sally's test results bring a new beginning or a devastating end? And how will Jack survive the fallout if Diane witnesses his moment of vulnerability with Nikki? Furthermore, as Adam desperately races against a ticking clock in a city of illusions, can he possibly uncover the truth before Nick's terrifying reality breaks him completely? The stakes have never been higher, and the impending explosions promise to leave no one unscathed.